Well, this is Skuzzball here, and today I am joined with Ghost.
Hello.
Hey there. And today we will be talking about...
What to do with troublesome players?
Huh! Now, troublesome being not only in-game, where they're... How do you define a troublesome player?
Any scenario that you can possibly think of, from just something that's annoying, someone who's annoying within the game, to situations that can be detrimental to the group or the game. The whole idea of what do you do with a troublesome player.
Hmm.
And I think we're going to have different ideas on this one.
Alright, I usually categorize troublesome players in two categories. They can either be in both or one or the other. A bad player when it comes to role-playing, because getting into character is just hard, that's fair enough. And a bad player because they're just a bad person. The former is easier to deal with, I believe, because that's just more practice and just being comfortable with doing it. The latter, well, I think that crosses into the domain of society and dealing with people IRL. So, yeah. Right, well, I'll start with you, Ghost. And firstly, do you categorize players in the same way I do? As in people who are just, getting used to it, and people who are just...
No. I think it depends, right? Like, there is two different sort of situations. You've got players that are disruptful to the game, but for different reasons. They can be inexperienced. They can be misunderstanding, hog the limelight, which also can often be for lots of reasons. Sometimes it's actually because they've got low self-esteem, which sounds odd, right? Because they're always trying to be in the limelight, and you think people with low self-esteem will do the exact opposite.
But, yeah, I know what you mean. They're looking for gratification
that's right.
and glory.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes that's exact opposite. I think overall you can try to work with those sort of situations and those sort of players. You can try to find out, like, obviously if they're struggling with the game, then they just need more help. There's ways to deal with that too. Like, if you have a really established group who's really good, you might not want to bring them into that one.
Yeah. You'd start off with a beginner's box, per se, or a beginner's group.
And you could ask your regular group, is there anyone who's willing to play in this other game to let this new person sort of get the hang of it? And they might jump in without that way and do that, and then it doesn't disrupt your regular game. So I think you can do stuff like that to try to head off certain situations. If someone's hogging the limelight, or we had a player who thought you had to fill every moment of every adventure, and he actually thought that's what you needed to do. If you said the trip from Tatooine to Jakku was going to be 3 days, he'd try to fill 3 days worth of stuff because he thought that's what you needed to do. So there's ways, I think, that you can try to smooth on those rough edges, you know what I mean? If a player is just bad, girlfriends or boyfriends who are playing because their partner does it but they're really not into it, okay, you've got a problem there because of the social dynamic between those two. But if a player really doesn't fit your group, I've heard a lot of people say, try to find what makes them tick, try to work them in, try to make it... No. For me, no. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be mean, but obviously, if that's the dynamic, then that click is not going to be there. They're not going to connect to your group. And I think it's only going to be a lot of effort and a lot of painstaking time to try to make that work, and it still might never actually work properly. It's just better to be this isn't the right group.
Just kick them out, because at the end of the day, it's not fun for them, and it's not fun for you.
Exactly. I mean, you don't have to be a dick about it, but I think that there's too much. Let's be nice about it. If you've got 5 players who are really good, that everyone has on the same page, all want to do the same sort of stuff, there's your group. You can bring someone extra in if they want, and it works. But if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. I don't believe in getting rid of players at a moment's notice sort of thing, at a drop of a hat. Oh, they didn't do great this particular night. Everyone has an off night, GMs included.
Yeah.
But if they're not the right mix, then it's not the right mix. You can't fix it.
There's the one that doesn't fit in. That's a fairly easy solution. It gets harder when the person wants to be there, but sucks. I had a perfect experience when I was role-playing down at the local role-playing place at Chermside Library. They did one there every Sunday night. And everyone was pretty cool there. It was really laid back. We did some old-school first ed D&D. That was fun. And everyone was just there for a good time. Except for one person who took it incredibly seriously. And I didn't mean the serious as in he was in character serious. No. It was serious because he wanted to win the game.
Mm.
Oh, that was so shocking. I was getting in there. I was getting into my character. I was playing a Russian town guard. That's right. Went around with a 12-foot pole on his back because it was the most useful thing ever and prodded everything with it. And also had a halberd, which he used...
And there's no analogy in there, is there?
No. Oh, I used every stereotype I could. But I also played on the fact that he was a stereotypical town guard who didn't really go adventuring much. So when he saw a box with a trinket or something inside it, he would be, smash. And the other guy would lose it. He'd be, what did you do that for? And I'll do it in character. And the other guy would go, no. If there was a jewel in there, we could have gotten money from it. It matters not. No, you're not thinking, man. You have to be able to roll properly if you want to do this. If you want to disarm a trap, let someone who can disarm a trap. That's when I started to lose interest. At the end of the day, it's a game. And more importantly, it's a role-playing game.
Yep.
I think that you really do have to set the laws as the GM at the very start when you're forming group, that this is the nature that it's going to be like. If you want to do a game that's, say, Pathfinder or D&D second ed, third ed, where there's just a lot of rules, then you say that at the start and say, hey, look, this is going to be a very rule-based game. We're going to be doing a lot of mechanical stuff. So we're going to spend a lot of time figuring out rules and rolling dice and making sure everything's good. If, however, it's going to be a cinematic game, make that clear. Get people who do that sort of stuff, like you said, so the group clicks and meshes, and stick with it. Having people who stop the gameplay midway and break their character to take issue with rules or with another character being their character, that ruins the game completely.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think you're right. In that situation, refer to Rule 1. If they don't fit, kick them out.
Yep.
If the square doesn't fit, if the shoe doesn't fit, don't try and make it fit. It just won't work. For everybody in the group.
It applies to yourself too. If you find a group that you don't like, if you don't like the way they play, it's not fair to try to change them. If that's how they like to play, that's how they like to play. If it's not how you like to play, then politely back out.
Yeah. Say, I can't do it. If you're struggling for something to say, if your friend got you into it and would be disappointed that you're leaving, you know what? Say, oh, sorry, look, I got heaps of work that needs to be done, or I have some family commitments that's going to be happening, or just come up with an excuse. Look, it's not a big deal. At the end of the day, it is a game. And
yep, it's got to be fun.
Yeah. The primary focus of every game is to have fun. Every person's different. So if a player finds fun in being rulesy or something like that, then that's their choice. That's how they have fun. As long as the main important thing is everyone there is having fun, then who cares?
Yeah.
I think it comes down to the GM to draw the line. I really do think when it comes to bad players and bad people as well, the GM should be the final say. They should be the boss. In both in-game and out-game.
Yeah, well, GM a lot of the time is part instigator in the formation of the group. Not usually all of it. But definitely he's part instigator in how the group comes together. So he should, for the most part, I think, be knowing who he's choosing or inviting. Yeah, he or she. Who they're inviting. In general, it shouldn't. I don't think there's that many situations where a GM is completely cold. I mean, there is occasionally, and certainly conventions and stuff like that, you might not have any idea who you're getting. But I think for your regular group, you should know. You know what I mean? It's not like you're going to just be sitting down and going, okay, I've never met any of these people. I mean, there's a chance that's going to happen, but I think it's pretty rare. So I think it's important that you try to get your group together of people that you know typically get along and are going to be there for the right reasons. And
if you are in a situation where you are role-playing with people you don't know, then I do believe that as a GM it is your responsibility then to do it. The players should also come in and back the GM up. This is thank God for post-editing.
I'm just letting you run the rope out at the moment.
Thanks. Thanks a lot here. As long as everyone is having fun, that's the main thing. What's another bad player? What's another example of a bad player?
The jokester?
Someone who's always larrikin and can't take anything seriously.
Yep.
I've never come across that. I think I've been it myself once or twice. I just had to pull my head in. What did you do?
I just told them to stop or I'd throw a D20 at their head. I was 16 at the time, so, the threat of physical violence, it seems to be more acceptable when you're 16 with your group.
Yeah, I guess because it usually happens, whereas if you're 25 or 45, throwing something at something is probably more offensive.
I mean, it's a hard one to sometimes balance. It really depends why they're doing it, I think. Because if you know why they're doing it, then you can try to deal with it.
Yeah, if by nature they are a very jovial, not serious person, then it might actually be worth saying, hey, why don't you pick a character that is by nature jovial and can't take anything seriously? Then their personal trait is actually being put into the character. And I think maybe that would be another way to deal with some of these people characteristics. Is if they have a characteristic, say they're always laughing and they can't take anything seriously, then why not make their character like that? So a bard that has an inept ability to always laugh at everything, no matter what. Now, if it was in a serious situation and they're playing a serious character similar to Aragon, then that would obviously be annoying. But if their character was by nature a jovial larrikin, then I think that would actually be in their benefit. For me, my experience when I was being a bit of a larrikin, it happened to be twice, over 2 nights. After the end of the second night, my friend who invited me to it pulled me aside and just said, hey, look, it's kind of annoying what you're doing. Could you please stop?
Yeah.
It was a bit brutal, but at the end of the day, that was what the group said after the first night. They were like, hey, dude, your friend is sort of annoying. Can you just tell him to stop it? He just pulled me aside and said, hey, look, the guys are just saying you are not really taking it as seriously as everyone else. Could you, take it a bit more seriously, stop laughing all the time and giggling and, really get into it. This was when I was first starting out, so I didn't know that when you role play, you are literally that person. At that point in time, you are your character. So you have to be in that.
Well, that's the thing is there's different ways to roleplay, right? Like some people just like combat encounters. First Ed D&D was very much kicking indoors, getting treasure. Not a real lot of story and roleplay. That's not necessarily bad. If that's what the group's doing, that's cool. It's just if you're a very story-orientated group and acting is a big part of what you're doing, then someone who's more First Ed D&D, kick indoors, give me treasure, give me some puzzles. I'm not really going to RP the character much. I'm just sort of, more interested in just there for the game kind of thing. That's not a good mix. And vice versa. If it's a very First Ed sort of game and you're very character and story driven, both sides are going to be unhappy. But neither side is a wrong style of playing. I mean, there is different ways of playing a role-playing game and they're all right.
as we said, and we'll always harp back to this because it is the most important thing. As long as everyone's having fun, it doesn't matter what you're doing.
That's right.
If everyone's having fun, you're doing it right, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly. That's 100%.
I think that it is important that as the GM and the players come together to form the group, that they set the rules and set the tone of the game beforehand, so there's an expectation to be held. That will then limit the problem of bad players. I think that would stop, hopefully, 99% of the time, stop the bad play problem. Because everyone who's going into the game understands, okay, this is going to be a cinematic game, or this is going to be a mechanical game, so I need to be role-playing accordingly. I need to be playing accordingly. And that will alleviate a lot of problems when you're getting down the line. If everyone's on the same page and know that this is how it's going to be played, then you'll avoid that from the very beginning.
I agree.
Yeah, people who will become problematic would be more likely people who come in throughout the game, in the middle, once it's already kicked off, and don't know what the dynamic of the group is like.
Yep, I would agree with that too.
If at the end of a session or two you say, that's not sort of my group, then it's better that you actually say that to the group and say, look, this is not where I'm at, and leave, rather than sticking around and trying to fit in and not. Then, yeah, quit while you're ahead. The problem is if it's bringing in someone who's completely new. And I think, if you're going to be bringing in someone, or if someone's coming in who's completely new to role-playing, make sure everyone knows that. Because they still have to learn, there's certain etiquettes, there's certain things that you do when you're role-playing. So, etiquette's one thing, how to role-play, staying in character is another thing. These things that you learn as you play more games. So, thanks for listening. I hope that you agree or disagree even. If you have something to add, please comment below. Yeah, please comment, subscribe. Tell us experiences, because this is very much an experience-based question. You really landed that one on me. But that is actually quite a deep thing. You're talking not just about players and characters. You're talking about people as people and their own characteristics.
Yes.
And that does go into quite a bit. When you're role-playing, you can actually see a lot of the person and who they are while you're playing, because it's not just them being character. There's also that time where you're sitting around talking to each other. If you're all friends, you all know who you are, but if you're not all friends, then that's the part where you're actually going to learn who this person is, what they're like, how they like to laugh, what sets them off, all that sort of stuff. So it really is a community group bringing together sort of thing. So clicking and getting along is really important. Anyways, thank you everyone for listening. This is Skuzzball, and we will catch you next time. Happy rolling.